Hi, welcome back to Sean's Eye View, and this week join me, Graham, as I take a walk from Green Park to Tower Bridge. And if you know London, it took me most of the day, and I hope you enjoy these highlights. So here we are in Green Park, so named because, as you can see, there's no flowers. Right next to the park, Buckingham Palace. Now you can see the crowds are here because it's time for the changing of the guard. Now, family legend has it that when my grandfather worked at the palace as a carpenter, he built the replacement crown that sits on top of the flagpole. Now, I don't know how old that is, how true that is, but I like to believe it. Now, I couldn't spend the time waiting for the troops to march past. Unfortunately, I was on my way to meet our friend Simon, who then accompanied me from Whitehall to the rest of the journey. So next stop on my way to Whitehall was St James's Park. Again, one of the royal parks very close to the palace, lots of lovely city views and quite nice for a relaxing walk. So here's Horse Guards Parade with the Admiralty building over on the left, in front of us the Horse Guards Barracks, and then here on the right behind those trees is the back garden of the Prime Minister's residence, number 10 Downing Street. And this was in June, so it was all prepared for Trooping of the Colour coming up for the King's birthday. This is where all the troops march, some on horseback in ceremonial display. And famously, on the other side of Horse Guards, on the Whitehall side, you'll see the horses and the guards. Now, they're on duty. They're not there for tourists and for selfies. They are there for a purpose. You'll see there are signs saying don't get too close. It's not very good behaviour to try and interfere with the horse or the soldier. He is carrying a sword. And at the top of Whitehall is the famous square, Trafalgar Square, with Admiral Nelson on his column there in the middle. And on the left we have Canada House, the High Commission for Canada, which I've been inside on a tour, beautiful. And on the right we have South Africa House, and in the middle is the National Gallery. Very recommend to explore if you have the time. And yes, this is a major junction hub in the centre of London, a lot of traffic. And that's looking back down Whitehall, where we're now going to go towards the Houses of Parliament, Big Ben there on the horizon. So here's the entrance to Downing Street, where the Prime Minister and the Chancellor of the Exchequer live. Now, the gates were put up during the Thatcher era, and I do remember as a very small child being brought into Downing Street by my parents, and we stood opposite the famous black and white building just down there on the right, you can see. Here's the Cenotaph, Britain's most important war memorial and home of the Remembrance Day services. And this is the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, which is, again, somewhere you can tour on the special days. So here, Parliament Square, Houses of Parliament, Big Ben, and Westminster Abbey over on the right. I've marched here, I have walked here as a tourist, and I've walked through here a lot on my way to work as well. It's an important place in London. And then here from Westminster Bridge you get a much better view of the Houses of Parliament. I did go inside once, way back when I should have been studying for an exam. I bunked off and went and sat in the public gallery and watched members of Parliament. And here is the COVID memorial outside St Thomas's Hospital. You can see the red colour on the wall over there. That is made up of hundreds and thousands of small red hearts for everyone who passed away. And now looking the other way towards the London Eye, which has been there since 2000. And there's County Hall. This was formerly the seat of the Greater London Council, where my mum used to work back in the 60s. So this view hasn't changed a lot, but you can see there's lots of new buildings and development going on, renovations. This is favourite views in London here, walking along the Southbank now as we head towards Waterloo, the city. And this is Hungerford Bridge into Charing Cross Station, which is under that rather ghastly 80s office building. Here's the Southbank Shell Centre. This used to be just the offices of Shell, but now it's been redeveloped in some new apartments around it. And there's always things happening on the South Bank. It's a big cultural centre in London, whether it's indoor, outdoor, there's lots of venues. And the footbridge, that used to be a terrible, rickety old footbridge across the bridge, which was a bit crowded and quite dangerous, but now it's been expanded, thankfully. And then coming up on the other side of the river, on the embankment, you can see there the Savoy Hotel, and there is Cleopatra's Needle, which was stolen from Egypt during that time in our history. So here's Royal Festival Hall, that was built in the 1950s, late 50s, early 60s. And my mum used to work here as an usherette when she first moved to London when she was a teenager, such a long time ago. It's a great cultural centre, lots of restaurants and bars as well now, and the whole complex has expanded. You'll see more as we walk further along. It's a little bit of a concrete carbuncle, but it has history and importance architecturally. And here under Waterloo Bridge there's always a book fair, and the British Film Institute, which has an impressive archive and viewing. And here's the National Theatre. I've been here a few times. National Theatre linked with the theatre in our hometown in Sheffield as well. Famously, next to the National Theatre, here's another building that looks the same, but it's actually an IBM office. They never had a logo on it for security reasons. And in this gap here now, behind these food stalls, used to be London Weekend Television, but it's gone now. So looking back across the river, you can see the BT Tower, the old post office tower, and some of the boats and bars on the riverside. So we're coming now towards the views of Blackfriars, which is where I started my career. There's St Paul's Cathedral, and you can see the edge of the City of London. And this has changed so much since I started working here. This is at Gabriel's Wharf, the Coin Street development, or Oxo Tower. These are all refurbished parts of the South Bank. Back when I first went to London, back in the 80s when I was a kid, none of this was here. It was all run down old warehouses and undeveloped, and I'm really pleased that these things have been changed and improved, and they're still going. So we stopped here for lunch at the Gourmet Pizza Company, somewhere I've been going for 30 years or more. So here at Blackfriars you can see the old Unilever building, the towers of the Barbican Centre, and St Paul's. Now St Paul's views are very, very protected in London. There are rules and laws to stop you building and blocking it. Whereas over here, as you can see, there's lots of new towers. Now that's a small pub next to the bridge called the Doggett, Coat and Badge, where I used to go for after work drinks, because I used to work just across there on the other side of what is now the station, on top of the bridge. Back in the 90s it wasn't as convenient as that. You could only access it from the north side of the river. I think it's very clever the way they extended the station platform to cover the whole railway bridge, so you have a station at each side effectively. So yes, over there next to the bridge behind those trees is what was KPMG's first headquarters, my first office. And yeah, the view from my desk would have been of a tree now, but we had a good view at the time. As you can see, we were on the edge of the City of London, and how that landscape has changed. So here's Tate Modern, what was formerly an abandoned power station because you couldn't burn fuels in the centre of the city anymore, and is now the home of modern art. It's fantastic. This is the original turbine hall, big gallery space, great for large sculptural pieces, and it's free. So if you're in the area, please go, and it has an excellent shop. The Millennium Footbridge here, famously known as the Wobbly Bridge. Well, it should be formally wobbly because it was closed for a year after it was opened to be re-supported and redone to stop it being dangerous. This is Bankside, lovely area just past Tate Modern. I always wanted to live in one of these houses when I first saw them. Not very convenient, but beautiful location. And right along here is the reconstruction of the Globe Theatre. So if you're into Shakespeare, you've got to go and see a performance. Just be wary of the fact you're going to be standing for at least 3 hours. And of course, there's a very good pub next door. And here's the Anchor, a pub where my mum and dad used to go for drinks when they first met, back in the late 60s. Very different neighbourhood now. It's been redeveloped under the arches. There's all sorts of exciting venues and restaurants and bars, as you can see. And here's the replica of the Golden Hinde, the 16th century ocean-going ship of Sir Francis Drake, the first English vessel to circumnavigate the world. And now we're at London Bridge, the famous modern replacement of the original London Bridge, which was purchased by somebody who thought they were buying a different bridge, shall we say. There's Cannon Street Station, and here we are at Borough Market. Now this is famously the location of Bridget Jones's apartment. She could never have afforded to live here based on the salary she had in that story, but yeah, everybody knows that place. Now, unfortunately, we got to Borough Market on a Monday afternoon, and as you can see, it's not open on Mondays. Never mind, it's a good place to visit if you like food, and come and see it when it's open. However, the bars and coffee shops around the market were open, which was good because by this time, both Simon and I needed to sit down, have a cup of coffee and recharge. So London Bridge is a gateway into the City of London district over there with all these new buildings, so many of them. You can see the walkie-talkie, the cheese grater, whatever the other ones are called. And there at the back is the NatWest Tower, which used to be the tallest building in the UK when I was working in London. Look at it, dwarfed now. So as you come along the footpath, we go under London Bridge towards London Bridge City. Now, London Bridge Station is where my dad used to come into work, and when I stayed with him, I used to come up to London for the day and go and explore as a teenager and then meet him in time for the train home after his day. And he used to work at Lloyd's of London, which is that modernist structure in the middle with all the pipes and fittings on the outside, dwarfed now by everything around it. This is the Cotton Centre, London Bridge Hospital. I had so many graduate interviews at consulting and accounting firms back here in the 80s. Didn't work for any of them, but went to KPMG instead. Very happy with that choice. And here is HMS Belfast, a former Second World War naval ship, which is now a museum. Fascinating, really worth exploring. And I know people who've been on scout visits who've slept there overnight. And it's just across from the City of London here. There's a tower in the background. We'll come on and see more of that shortly. So I took a little diversion from here. As you can see, the next location, this is slightly inland from the river, London Bridge Station under the Shard Tower there. So this is where Sean and I met on our first date quite a long time ago. No blue plaque to commemorate that event though, yet. And this is where we went, the Horniman, a pub that's been there for a long time and now part of this renovated Hayes Galleria. I used to come drinking here with my dad back in the 80s. When I started working, I thought the aim of my career would be to working in some refurbished city development like this. I look back now and I think, how would I have felt if I'd known where I'd be going and the places I'd go to, and where I live now would be unrecognisable. And across from the Hayes Galleria is the Tower of London. I last went there about 10, 11 years ago with my niece and nephew on a day out. You can see the Royal Crown Jewels and meet the Beefeaters. Definitely worth visiting if you're interested in British history. And there's Tower Bridge, and coming up is the former City Hall. So this used to be where the Mayor of London was based and the London Assembly, but they've moved further to the Docklands. And all this is renovated. Back in the 80s when I was a youngster walking around here, it was all dodgy, rundown warehouses and not a lot to see. I've just remembered that the head of the Beefeater Guards at one time was a member of our extended family, although I have to say I've never met him. So there you go, 2 tenuous links to royal properties in one video. I think I should stop with those stories now. So Tower Bridge does actually have a raising bridge in the centre there. And at certain times of the day, to allow large ships to enter, traffic will be stopped and it raises up. So yes, definitely worth, again, another visit. It used to be so grimy and dirty, but now it got cleaned up in the 80s, thankfully. London used to be such a polluted city, much less now. So I hope you have enjoyed this walk. And if you are in London on a good day and you feel like walking a few miles over several hours, I recommend retracing this route. And here are some other videos from London that you might enjoy. Please do comment, like, share and subscribe. The new video every week. And thank you to our friend Simon who accompanied me on this trip today. Bye bye.